Hi everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Sit Down. I'm DJ Sixsmith. Nate Bargatze is here in the house. Nate, how are you?
Hey, good buddy, thank you.
Congratulations on the new special.
Absolutely, man. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's fun, you know.
And we were just talking, like, really good time to be in comedy right now.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's right now is you know, comedy's like kind of being searched out, and with Netflix, the specials are all up there. They stay up there. People find them just like whenever, you know. And I think it's the best time, as you know, to be in comedy at the moment.
Yeah, and it's an international audience. It's not just America too, which is the best part about Netflix.
Oh yeah. They get you see it like in comments, like just all the different languages, like people. You hope being nice. I don't know what they're saying. They could be like, this guy is brutal, but it's they're super nice. It's wild to see the reach that it has. And
we were talking before, like, you got to keep your stuff current. You got to come up with new stuff all the time. So, what was the hardest part about doing this whole special?
It was. Nothing was hard. I was the act that I did in the special. I was touring with for a couple of years. So you get that fine tuned, you get ready, and you usually get a point where you're like, I'm ready to shoot a special. You want to move on. You want to you're like, some of the jokes you get tired of telling, or like, and you just want to get excited to get some new material. So that was the process, and then now's a tough process trying to come up with a new hour. That's like brutal. Right, because this thing just hit, and people are going to say, all right, what's the next thing? When's your next one? Can we just chill and enjoy this special for a little while? I can't wait for your next special. You're like, I can't.
You're like, do you understand how long it takes?
It's so long.
Yeah, like, explain to people just how long it actually takes, just the whole process.
It takes, I did a half hour with Netflix, like the stand-ups in 2017. July 4th is when it came out in 2017. We taped in February of that year. And then we taped this in October of 2018.
Okay.
So that was like somewhat quick, but that would be relatively pretty quick. But I only put out a half hour before. So the hour that I was toured with, a lot of it wasn't even on. So I was able to kind of keep some of that and then build this new act. But it takes, that was it was a year and a half, and I'm on the road like every weekend.
Yeah.
And just really like getting after it, like just doing all kinds of shows and just coming up with more material. It takes a very long time.
Definitely, and even at this point in your career, you still need those reps, and being in front of a microphone every weekend is still important. So how do you balance, the special, family, life on the road? How do you deal with that?
I've never met my daughter. No, I'm just, I have. I've heard about her. She seems nice.
Like to get to know her at some point.
Yeah, I'd love to see her. It'd be wonderful. You try to balance that. Like it's sometimes it can be a lot. I try not to take too long of trips. Like try not to be gone it's like over 10 days or something, or like try to somewhat be able to get back home. And sometimes you have to do it, sometimes you don't. I'm on the road, just like I do a lot of weekends. And so you're gone Thursday to Sunday. Sometimes my wife and daughter will come with me.
That's cool.
If we go to they pick the fun places to come. They don't do all of them.
They skip the ones in the middle.
Yeah, like the ones that are just like nothing's around.
They're like, no thanks. I'll wait for the big cities.
Yeah. Your hotel's in like a mall parking lot. Like they're not coming to that. So you just try to do that and you balance. And then you build a little routine, and she gets used to me having to be gone a lot, and that gets easier. Like once they get, at the beginning it was like very hard.
Right.
She packed a suitcase once, 6.
Okay.
When she was like 2, I had a suitcase, and then she packed hers. Like, I'll just go. And that was like brutal.
Yeah.
Like you're just like, all right. I almost like took her. Like, and I like can't,
Right, you can't just
I'd be
take
like,
her.
I'll take her. She can just stay in the green room.
Just sit backstage.
Yeah, she's fine.
She's 2, she's fine.
We're at a comedy club. She'll be all right.
But at least at 6 now, she's a little bit older, and
she gets it now. Yeah, she had she loves it, and we talk about it and like talk about the jokes, and she's aware as aware of as she could be about like what I do and stuff. Yeah.
So you have a really unique style. When you think about how you developed your style, just who are the people that kind of inspired you, and how did you find your voice the last couple of years?
I think a lot of it is I think sometimes your style too comes from like friends that you grow up with, like how you guys are funny with each other, and as far as in comedy, like my favorite is I was a big Seinfeld. Which is not like a big statement, like everybody is.
Everybody's
really
in that
good.
camp.
But Seinfeld was a huge thing. I loved Seinfeld. You know, Brian Regan is another one that's like very funny. He was like the first guy. Brian Regan was like the first guy I ever heard. Like I just couldn't believe when I heard him when I started. It was off a CD, and he was so funny that I was like, I didn't even know how. Like I was like, how's this guy not the most famous guy on earth? Like, and then you know when I moved to New York, it was Bill Burr was I started in New York. Was here about 9 years, like 2004. So like seeing Burke, he was like younger, you know, coming up through the clubs and watching him and that style, you know, Burr. A lot of guys talk about the Patrice O'Neill, who passed away. Like these are comics that are very different than my style, but I learned stuff from them in the fact that when I remember them talking about writing jokes, like about how to learn to be conversational, and you know, they didn't like write anything down like word for word. Like you're memorizing a script. It was more just like get the kind of gist of what you're saying.
Go off the cuff with it.
Go off the cuff, so then you sound like you sound more conversational, and so like a lot of that just comes from you know them and you know and just a bunch of other comics. Just being in New York around all these comics.
Yeah, so take me back 2004 when you're first coming up in New York. I mean, New York's a really special comedy scene. Yeah. So what were the biggest challenges and what was it like in those initial days doing open mics and seeing some of these guys floating around the city?
Yeah, it was. You know, it was unbelievable. Like it's unbelievable and great. It's like it's a whirlwind. You go on stage basically every night, and when you're first starting, I barked, which is like I handed out flyers at there was a club here, Boston Comedy Club. Okay. And I stood on a corner, and you would hand out and be like, "Hey, we got a great comedy show." I did Times Square, passing out flyers. Wow. And I was terrible at it. Like, cause I have this energy. Like, it's like, hey, you want to come to the show? And they're like, wait, no, what? Yeah, I don't care at all. Like, but you would so I would do that for stage time, and you'd get up at the end of the night. You'd be there. You know, I mean, I did like, my thing was I would bark until, and then you'd be at the club till like 3 a.m.
Right, super late.
I worked at FedEx for a minute. So then sometimes I would just stay up and just go to because FedEx you had to I'd through
like
boxes.
4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah. So you just stay up and go to that and then try to sleep before you go. I mean, luckily I was like 24, 25.
But still like, a crazy stretch in your life.
Still crazy, yeah. Oh yeah, it's brutal. I walked dogs for a minute. You always had these weird jobs.
You got it right, just to make ends meet at this point.
Yeah, walking dogs was I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Like, because you would never, I'm from Tennessee. Like Tennessee, you're not walking. Someone's paying you to walk their dog.
Like, wait, how many dogs do you
walk? They have a fence. You just like let the dog go outside in the backyard. You don't, and like, but here was like, we were supposed to run the dogs. It was a company that they could still be around. I don't remember what their name, but their point was like they would jog the dogs, and I had one dog that kind of wanted to run.
The rest of them weren't feeling it?
The rest were just like, yeah.
I'm sure you weren't.
It was like
me
personally. No, the other dogs were like me, my personality.
Like, I don't want to work out.
I'm not running. I know he wants me to run, but if you don't want to run, don't worry about it. Like, I'm fine with it.
So you're at that point in your life where you're just putting things together. How do you take the next jump and really start making this into a career?
It's a very slow build. I was lucky to get some TV stuff. I got like a CMT comedy stage was my first thing, and it was just the stand-up show on CMT. And I was like probably 4 or 5 years in, and then you get that, and like you just start getting something. Like 2008 was a big year. Like I was like live at Gotham and Conan, and you just slowly start getting this stuff where you're at least kind of going like, all right, I think I've at least chosen somewhat what I'm good at.
Absolutely.
And then you just keep building it up, and and then you just slowly like first you're making like, I mean, maybe like $2,000 in comedy to like, then it's 10 grand and you make like 20 and you almost basically just trying to get to like whatever I would make at whatever job I would have, at Applebee's, which where I met my wife.
Oh, wow.
But like, you're just basically trying to get to that salary. And then you're like, all right, I'm doing that.
Right. You want to at least match that to say, I can do this.
Like I can at least have whatever job I would have normally, So yeah, you just slowly start building it up, and then then it's very slow, but also kind of quick, or it feels like it. And then you get like a comedy. I did a Comedy Central special, then you just Tonight Show, and then you're just kind of doing stuff, and then you're around, and then people start showing up, and you're like.
You got your own special now too.
Yeah, now you got your own special.
I think it's interesting also because when the older comedians come in, they talk about doing the late night thing, performing on Carson, and it's a little different today, whether it's Conan or Fallon, but I feel like that still carries weight. So how did those appearances and performances help you out in your career?
I did Conan. Conan was the first one I did, and they help in, you know, I mean, they're just like, they validate you. Like, it's not, you're not like blowing up like they did in Carson. Like,
right, it's not going to be a
like
life
three
changer.
channels.
Yeah, exactly.
So but they just being around, and then like Tonight Show, like with Fallon, I've done the, you know, it's like I'm about to do like I think it's my 8th Tonight Show with him, and I did 2 when he was on Late Night. So just being there, being that like kind of constant on a show, you know, it's not like every day, but like you're the comic that comes on a lot, and people just see it, and you're just around. Like so much stuff is just being around. Like you just have to be.
You just want to be front of mind.
You got to be, popping around. You know, you hope something is like the thing that like sets you like crazy, but it's just being around, being active, and like doing stuff, being funny, and like just, you know, slowly people are like, oh yeah, I think I know that guy, and then it builds up. And but doing Tonight Show it's unreal. It's unreal to be like a Tonight Show comedian. Fallon's the best, and it's great to be a part of it.
Yeah, no doubt. So you're back on the road again. You're going to be in Chicago this weekend.
I am.
What can people expect at the show?
I go to Detroit and Chicago, and this weekend it'll be. I'm building a new act. I have like, you know, like a little over half, like 40 minutes of new material, and then I got to do some old stuff. That's a big question you get all the time now too, because people want to. They're like, is it gonna be new or? And I try to be like, I always like try to tell them, like, just so it's up front, like, because you can get in your head where you're like, I think, what are they thinking, like. You know, because some people think it's going to be the exact same, like straight up and down, the Netflix special, which is not that, which is good. But see, if I was in music, though, I could just do that, which would be wonderful.
I mean, think about Billy Joel. Billy Joel is selling at MSG with songs that haven't been, you know, sung in decades. Forever. You know, it's crazy.
And they, you know, it's rough. Comedy is is a surprise. Like that's what you know. So we can't. I would love it. But now you're just building. I continue to build my act, and you know, and then slowly get stuff in, and then you know, you do some old jokes until you don't have to anymore, and then get it switched over, and then start this whole process again, where you try to get it going and shoot a special whenever, and you know, it's very when you start thinking too far, it gets like very daunting.
Be overwhelming.
Oh, it's like too much. Like, because you never everything you do. You're like, well, I'll never be that funny ever. Like, I'll never write anything as funny as
that was great. How do I top that?
Oh,
you know?
There's never been anything that I haven't done. I think most comics are like that, where they write it, they're like, I mean, I can't be as funny as that ever again.
You should just do a show with like all jokes from 2004. See how people respond.
No, they're real bad. It's like when I first started, it'd be brutal. Like,
be like, wait, who's this guy?
Like, this guy, golly, he really took a turn.
Well, Nate, it's been a pleasure, man.
Absolutely, buddy.
Thanks, why don't you tell everybody where they can check your stuff at?
Go to NateBargatze.com. It's you can just figure it out. You can just type that in and like it should just accidentally come up.
Netflix, the Tennessee Kid.
The Tennessee Kid, that's the big one, and I'll be on tour. Big fall tours announced, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, and yeah, check out, and hopefully I'll come to a city near everybody.
Yeah, there you have it.
Yeah.
Nate, thanks so much.
Thanks, buddy.
We'll see you next time here on The Sit Down.